What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Hope everyone had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Happy 2021. Um, it's been a couple weeks since I put up any content. I think the last one I did was with Grayson. And going into 2021, I do have a few people that I'm working with as far as future conversation partners goes. So keep an eye out for that. That's coming up in 2021. Um, Today I wanted to do kind of a return to form. I haven't done a video like this in a few weeks actually, but I wanted to take a look at a few pieces of, I think two pieces of news and then a general trend that I've seen across right-wing Twitter in the last few days. Um, Not even necessarily from right-wing Twitter, but a general trend in the news that's been popular on our side of Twitter. Um, and I tweeted about this, but in general, the trend is that American leftism has been exported to the rest of the world. And you can actually see it very specifically in news stories where in the two countries I'm talking about are Ireland and Argentina. Ireland had their BLM moment recently. A man by the name of George Nsheko, I believe, was shot after wielding a knife or a machete or something at police, very similar to the Jacob Floyd, Jacob Blake incident in Wisconsin that led to BLM riots over the summer. Um, so Ireland is going through that moment right now, and then Argentina recently legalized abortions up to 4 months, I believe. Um, and the response to that is very telling because they're behaving in a very leftist, like a very Americanized form of leftism. And you'll see what I mean, but we'll look at a few pieces of content across Twitter and across the internet. Um, but yeah, I don't know if people have heard about this story. It was very prevalent in our circles on right-wing Twitter. But yeah, so this guy, we'll pull up the article. We'll go full screen here. So the guy's name, was I right? It's George, yeah, George Ncheko. And I mean, I call him Irish, but he's very clearly like an immigrant to Ireland. So I wouldn't call him a native islander or a native Irish person by by any stretch of the imagination. But so the article says that, and this is EuroWeeklyNews.com, but it says that Gardaí, which I had to look up, it's the Irish Police Department, I guess. Um, Gardaí were called to reports that a man armed with a knife was threatening staff and customers at a shop in Cloney in suburban West Dublin. Initial responding officers were threatened by the man who fled the scene, spurring Gardaí to call for armed reinforcements. About a dozen officers, including members of the highly trained Armed Response Unit, ARU, were deployed to the usual, and you got to love how they work this in right here. See, it's all about the framing with these articles. It's very funny. So look how they frame this. An investigation is underway following a rare fatal shooting of a knife-wielding man. That's done intentionally to make it seem like that even though this is a peaceful area, it's like, well, why did they shoot him? That never happens. Well, it probably doesn't happen because the demographics of the city or of the area where this happened do not lend themselves to a lot of necessity to have someone be shot. So the framing there is very important. So like when they say here, they were deployed to the usually peaceful area. Well, okay, why was it not peaceful? It's because there was a Nigerian migrant there who was wielding a machete and was threatening officers. So always be on the lookout for that kind of framing. But it says these measures were unsuccessful, and at 12:35 p.m., a number of shots were fired from an official Garda weapon, according to an official Garda press release. The man was struck in the gunfire and treated on the scene by members of the ARU as well as the Dublin Fire Brigade paramedics. Again, framing, the man was struck in the gunfire. Well, yeah, that was the point, because if he wasn't struck, he would have probably killed them with the machete that he was wielding. So This is just kind of the dry news story of it. It is very rare in Ireland that Gardaí, who are largely unarmed, kill anyone in the course of duty. Well, yeah, you could say that for a lily white suburb of Boise, Idaho. Well, it's very rare that people are killed there by the police. Well, yeah, but if someone was wielding a machete, which is very unlikely due to the demographics of that area, you'd probably have a few more deaths. So, so that's kind of like the dry run of the story. So the guy, much like I said, much like what's that guy's name? Jacob Blake, in Wisconsin, he's wielding a knife. He's brandishing a machete at authorities. They never have to deal with this kind of situation because the demographics of Ireland are such that they really don't have to deal with that. Um, and that's actually going to become a larger point in this video. But yeah, so he's wielding machete. They have to kill the guy. Um, it's it's not rocket science. So this is where it kind of turns. So you have Ireland. You have a situation where black people make up 1% of the Irish population. I I'm not even, can look up the demographics of Ireland if you want, but it's 1% black. And based on the response to this shooting, you would think that Ireland um, was 50% black and had a huge systemic racism problem, which is what the black immigrants in Ireland are now claiming. Um, so I want to take a look at the kind of the response to this by the Irish leftists, like the Irish BLM. So we have the Irish Mirror here. And it says large crowds marched through Blanchardstown Shopping Center uh, in protest of death of George Ncheko. The protests come following the death of 27-year-old George Ncheko, who was shot by Gardaí following a standoff. Okay, fair enough portrayal. So this is how they're behaving in Ireland. 1% black, mind you. Okay. Yeah, so we'll probably rewatch that here in a second, but okay, their video player sucks. But that behavior that you see there, like the very ethno-narcissistic behavior of like marching into like stores and stuff with like the big sign held up and saying my life matters and um, we demand justice. You're 1% of the population, you're making impositions on the other 99%. Um, and it's all in defense of a guy who was brandishing a machete against police. So you have that dynamic, and it's eerily reminiscent of kind of the BLM situation here. America does have more of a racial history just because of our founding, because there's always been a larger contingent of black people in America than there probably ever were in Ireland. But the point still stands, this very ethno-narcissistic behavior of, making the minority group front and center and making and having the public discourse revolve around, frankly, a criminal who more or less probably got what was coming to him. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. So, that behavior, the big point is the behavior. The BLM marches, it's really not outside of the norm for criminals to face justice when they come at police, with the intention to injure them. What is specific though is the behavior. It's the imposition on the majority population via shutting down shopping centers, waving signs. So that's something to take a look at. It's the general behavior of these left-wing movements that really got their start in America. So the BLM movement, sure, the civil rights movement has its origins going back to the 60s, but the BLM movement specifically, this very ethno-narcissistic um, strain of American leftism, which resulted in the BLM movement, has only been around for probably 8 years in the wake of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. And now the rest of the world is starting to learn that through that behavior, you can get government grants, you can get funding, you can have huge corporations back you up, you can have Burger King making BLM commercials. So they're learning behavior from the West. And what we'll get into with the Argentinian videos with the abortion protests is they're actually learning that in terms of feminism as well. So you have the BLM in Ireland, criminal faces justice. Now ethno-narcissism pushes their identity to the forefront of Ireland's story because a criminal was killed. So we got through that one. That's good. All right. So this one, this is from Keith Woods. Very smart guy. I've never talked with him before, but he seems like a really smart guy. He highlights in a video from Ireland. This is one of the scenes from the protest. It's only a 9-second video. So let's check this out. This is in Ireland. So I think this is outside of the supermarket where the guy was killed. Okay, so Keith Wood says, scenes from a protest in Dublin today over the recent shooting of a criminal. Protesters threw rocks at the police and attacked the locals. Again, it's more of the same. It's more of that, it's like anger at the native population that I can't even put my mind there. It's like you're angry that the guy was wielding a machete. I don't even know what the argument would be to I don't know what the counter argument is. Why are you fighting? So, this is Lily White Ireland over here getting the BLM treatment when, again, the demographics don't even really make sense. It's 1% black, and you have this group, this contingent that feels as if they are being unjustly persecuted because a criminal got shot. And how does this result? This results in a fight. This results in a massive brawl outside of the store. Diversity is not a strength, It's 1% black, and this, I mean, that's not to say that assimilation can't happen, but when you infuse when you take American leftism and you take that victim and that victim ideology and you take it to its logical conclusion, you get scenes like this. You get people with frankly low impulse control who are upset that one of their own was slaughtered by the police when frankly he was doing something that warranted him facing some kind of punishment from the police. So yeah, that's a wonderful scene from Ireland. I'm sure that this is what the founders of Ireland envisioned. So I got a little bit of heat for this one, but it basically makes sense though. Irish black, I quote tweeted Keith Wood's tweet. I said, Irish blacks behaving the same as American blacks over a knife-wielding criminal getting shot. Between this behavior and the feminist parades in Argentina over legalized abortion, you start to realize we have exported the worst parts of our culture to the rest of the world. And then after this, we're going to take a look at the Argentina abortion protest or the celebration videos. But that's the general take. I think that's kind of the crux of this video is, you could probably envision a scenario where Argentine women are protesting for abortion rights. Maybe you could maybe see that like happening as just a general trend of leftism spreading throughout the world. But what's specific about how they're behaving is that there's a very like American leftism bent to it. So like what you get in these countries is whereas maybe in the past they would be doing like protests in the streets and advocating, not that it's ideal, but advocating for, a bill they want passed, an abortion law or an abortion bill they want passed. What you get instead now is you get like overt celebration. You get tears of joy once they get the right to do these things. And this is a very American trend right here. So, and frankly, these videos are a little disturbing to me, um, just because there's something deeply wrong to me about this level of celebration over something like this. So you really have to think about, like, what are they jumping up and down about? And I know I'm not gonna, like, you know, beat a dead horse with this take because it's kind of been done on right-wing Twitter. But you really have to ask yourself, like, what are they celebrating here? They're fundamentally celebrating their right to kill a child. Um, and that's how I view it. I view abortion as murder, to be honest. That's my take. Um, but they are celebrating their ability to have promiscuous sex, not have to do good research when it comes to selecting a partner. Um, fundamentally, their ability to use the state um, to murder a child. So yeah, so I really don't like these videos, but it's very telling. Imagine look the joy. That's not a fake reaction, actually, and that's probably the sickest part, is that these reactions are not fake. The male feminists are probably faking to a certain extent to try to, like, have sex with the feminist women, but the reaction from the women, this is totally genuine. She's totally joyous, that she's going to have the ability to kill children, not have to be selective when it comes to finding a mate. Um, yeah, watch this. Disgusting people. So yeah, I mean, the point isn't that they're celebrating, like, we expect that, but the point is that that's a very like white American feminist reaction that they're doing here. This is eerily reminiscent of, like, 1960s um, like hippie woman feminist protests where they would burn their bras. It's like an overt expression. They can't just advocate for the laws they want. They have to, like, rub it in your face that it got passed and that they're able to participate in evil. So it's a very specific American left trend. Um, so it's just gross. And then you got this one. Celebrations erupt in Argentina after the country's Senate voted to legalize elective abortion, becoming the largest country in Latin America to do so. And I just realized this is actually really sad. Um, I mean, these are previously Catholic countries, you know what I mean? So the reason that they're highlighting that is becoming the largest country in Latin America to do so. The undertone there is that most of these countries are, like, largely Catholic. And you look at the age group of these people that are celebrating this, it's all young people. Um, totally brainwashed, and I'm not gonna, like, die on this hill, but it's a lot of socialism, it's a lot of Marxism, especially in these South American countries where freedom or liberation theology has completely infected the church. You have Pope Francis as the Pope. I'm Catholic. Not ideal what he's doing. That's probably where my take ends. But that has totally infected the religious culture. Um, so yeah, these people are, if they identify as Catholic, they're like left-leaning Catholics who think abortion is like what Jesus secretly wanted or something. But like, literal. so hedonistic. And part of me wonders, like when I see these people crying out of joy, like are they really crying, or are they doing that because they feel like because they feel like they have to or something? Like I don't really understand like where that level of joy comes from unless you've like had that taught to you to be happy about this, because there's nothing inherently joyful about being able to get an abortion. It sounds like a horrible, traumatizing experience, and it very much feels like that joyous reaction has been imported to them from imported to them from somewhere else in the world. And when you look at it, I think that you could probably make the case that American leftism um, gives them that joyous feeling of protesting in the streets and doing the BLM thing and celebrating abortions and burning their bras and stuff like that. So I think that's an important trend, that there's a very American feel to these things that I don't think would be present without American leftism and us importing these things to the rest of the world. So we got that. What else? Yeah, this one was kind of interesting. It's like they're watching a soccer game. It's pretty morbid. It's like they're cheering that their favorite team scored a goal. I had to look that up. That means it's law. I didn't know that that was Spanish for that. So they're just like using cutesy font, and it looks like a cartoon, and it's law. La conquistaremos. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we can kill your kid now. That's awesome. It's disgusting. It's disgusting what these people stand for. So yeah, so you have these leftists in other countries, thousands of miles away from America, um, that are starting to mirror the trends of American leftism. Um, you're getting ethno-narcissism in Ireland, in a country that's 1% black. You're getting crazed feminists. You're getting crazed feminists in Argentina, acting like their team just won the soccer game because now they can kill their kid at 4 months. It's disgusting, and again, it has a very American feel to it from the feminists here. They've learned well. So the next one I wanted to take a look at. Now we're going to get away from the news a little bit, but I do want to highlight. Um, just kind of note, when you look at these leftist marches in other countries, just notate how they have a very American feel to them. Um, from the screaming women to the black people marching in stores with signs saying "My life matters" and stuff like that. That is a very American trend, and we're exporting that to the world. Um, but I don't want to be totally negative. This was a scene from Belarus on New Year's Eve, and this actually made the rounds on right-wing Twitter, but I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a cool trend because it highlights that like hope isn't lost in the entire world. So like, we see this in Argentina and we see this in Ireland, but tradition still exists, and this was a very cool video. I think the original video that the person posted, they were upset because they weren't social distancing, but I like this person's take, and I actually just found this. He said, cleansing the timeline from Argentinian bloodthirsty feminist filth with this footage from Lukashenko's Belarus youth ball. This is what we're fighting to preserve, and largely true. It's peaceful. There's no twerking, no WAP, no Meg Thee Stallion. It's tradition, it's clean, it has a nice aesthetic. So yeah, I thought that was a cool video. I think I think some people were upset by that. Belarus's President Alexander Lukashenko presided over a gala ball for young people at the independent. Yeah, so like this is very good aesthetics here. It's very balanced. There's order. It's orderly. Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool video. That just goes to show that that kind of stuff still exists and it can exist. I think it'll be tough to get that back here in America because of how far society's degenerated at this point. Um, but that stuff still does exist, and I think there is room to advocate for those kind of things like order, cleanliness, beauty standards, aesthetics, good architecture. Notice there was no one twerking at that. There was no Meg Thee Stallion. There was no Cardi B. There was no WAP. There was no degenerate behavior. That's a commitment to tradition. That's a society that actually has a shared commitment to beauty and tradition, and carrying those things on into the future. So um, those things aren't lost and they still exist, but you have to be willing to advocate for them. Um, so we'll see if America has that fortitude. What was this one? Let's see. Oh, okay. This one was kind of interesting. This is just a vendetta of mine, but I'll go into it. So there's this general take from millennials. It's not even a Zoomer thing. It's very much a millennial thing, and I'm ashamed to be a part of that generation. But um, I'll read the tweet. It says, "Yearly Departed premieres on Amazon tomorrow, December 30th. It's written, directed, performed, and edited entirely by women. I hope you enjoy it. F that guy." And like, um, there's just a general like crass trend from millennial women. And when you look at this poster, this was actually the quote tweet that I did on it. It said every millennial woman identifies with at least one of these characters. This is how they view themselves: powerful, brash, seductive, all while they have a 30 plus body count and are post wall. Um, and you look at the like the righteous indignation in some of their eyes. Like they like we'll do a deep dive on them. So she's supposed to be the smart black woman reading the big book, and she's like, what are you talking about? Just like not, she's very concerned, but she's high class. She's very bougie because she has big hat and she's tipping it. She is well, she just doesn't care. She's just out there. She's holding the glasses down and she's just staring at you because she's awoken. She's brash. She's staring at you like Ilhan Omar would be staring at you because clearly she has the moral high ground over you because she has some kind of religious headwear on, much like Ilhan Omar. And she's looking at you because it's like she's interviewing you because she's just like clearly smarter than you and like, what do you have to say? Yeah, so she's clearly better than you. She's staring you down because, she's clearly intelligent because she has a serious look on her face. And she's sitting with her legs spread like a basketball player would on a bench to show you that she's dominating. She is a force to be reckoned with. So don't cross her, and she's going to tell you why you're wrong with her headdress. And she's going to read very deep poetry from a 1960s black feminist poet, and tell you why you're wrong. She's a seductive temptress, but she also has a smirk, so she's clearly smarter than you also. And these are all millennial women. They're childless, and and this, oh God, you know, those are torn because because she's free through her femininity, and no, not through her femininity. She's free through her sexuality, and she clearly has been, through the ringer. Um, but that makes her powerful though, because she drinks wine on the weekends and she goes out for drinks with these girls every day after work. So they're based, you're cringe. and they're powerful, and they're going to run the company, and they're going to be the HR representatives that fire you because of an offensive Twitter post you made in 2016. So hopefully you have your UBI. Hopefully, maybe they'll cut it off once if you get called racist enough times, I'm sure the social credit score cuts off at a certain point. So they're going to win, and they're badass, and they're smarter than you, and that's your average millennial woman. It's literally how I work with these women. That's literally how they view this thing. They take seductive, powerful poses, and they think that that gives them a higher status in the world because Netflix has basically been injecting them with propaganda for years, telling them that childless wine addict moms, or I'm sorry, childless wine addict cat moms are the most powerful force to be reckoned with, especially if they're brown. And if they're white, they have to be self-hating. So very important lesson with millennial women. And I think this is the last one I want to get into. Okay. So this was a part of a little bit of a Twitter feud, I think. Lauren Southern, I wasn't following it totally, but Lauren Southern got into it with Beardson, something about like the need for, I don't know. Eli Schaefer kind of sums up what the deal was between Lauren and Beardson, but he says, so much of the right wing are Pharisees, calling everyone they disagree with a whore and a degenerate. He's simping for Lauren Southern. No answers and hope for redemption. No empathy or helping hands to change. Just condemnation. So far from the gospel. Don't be mired by their self-righteous. Jesus heals. So really what he's doing here is he's trying to come off as the California conservative that he claims or that he identifies with. He doesn't want to take a stance on any socially relevant issues. He wants to basically play libertarian when it comes to social issues, carry water for the Republican Party when it comes to economic issues, but not have to take any important stands. So this may seem brave of him, but really all he's doing is carrying water for degeneracy here. He doesn't want anyone to be held accountable. He doesn't think that there's any place for that in the right wing movement to hold people accountable for their moral actions. Um, that's not in the wheelhouse for him. He doesn't think that. He thinks that Christianity is kind of just this game you play to win to win later on in eternity. You there's no reason to shame anyone. Jesus heals, therefore we can't talk about anyone's degenerate actions because Jesus heals. No. And actually, I quote tweeted him on this, and he didn't respond. I'm not surprised, but um, I stand by it though. It says shame exists for a reason and is an effective societal tool to disincentivize degeneracy. A strong social fabric can't exist without shame. By your logic, slut shaming actually is immoral, like the left claims, because we should just ignore the behavior. Um, and I think this is what a lot of the right misses. Um, of course, is Eli Schaefer right? Does Jesus heal? Yeah, obviously. But that also doesn't mean that we should give degenerate or immoral behavior a pass. There have been, and I'll open up about myself here. Um, Being within the online sphere has exposed me to a lot of the things um, that maybe I could be doing better. Um, and maybe some blind spots as far as my moral behavior. But I would never have gotten that wake up call if people didn't call me out on it. So, that's not an invitation to raid my comments and tell me everything you hate about me. But what I am saying is that there is room for there is a societal demand for shame. It keeps everyone in check. So when Eli Schaefer says, well, the right wing is just a bunch of Pharisees calling out degeneracy, well, frankly, there's room for that. In past eras, the marriage rate and the marriage rate was high, and the out of wedlock birth rate was low because there was a stigma around having a child out of wedlock and getting a divorce. Um, that's why when in the 50s or 60s, boys and girls would hang out in their room, the door would have to be open. Or I think there was a long-standing trend where the boys, he would have to have at least 2 feet on the ground, so he couldn't be like laying in her bed. Like that was the general rule. According to Eli Schaefer, that's immoral, I guess. And shaming anything outside of that behavior is counterproductive. No, what he's doing is counterproductive because it's giving the left and libertarians like himself a pass on immoral, degenerate behavior. Um, if you see something, say something. If you see immoral behavior, it's our duty to call it out, and it's okay to hate evil. Um, so that's what I would say about that. Yeah, shame is not a bad thing. Shame exists for a reason. It's a societal tool that disincentivizes degeneracy. So I think that is probably a good stopping point. I think I covered like a pretty wide range of issues today. Yeah, okay. So we're at 36 minutes. Yeah, those were the only stories I had today. I'll probably do another video like this at some point if I see another trend pop up. Again, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And if you see any content that you want me to analyze, I want to start to get this portion kind of up and running. If you see any content that you want me to analyze, just DM me on Twitter, Jordan B Videos. No underscores, no special characters, just at Jordan B Videos. DM me any content that you want me to take a look at, and I'll see if it kind of fits a trend. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. More to come. I should have a couple new conversation partners, and I should be on a couple streams coming up. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Leave feedback in the comments. Thanks, guys.